Thank you, Chair. We're now live on YouTube. When you're ready.
Thank you, Wendy. Good morning and welcome to East Devon District Council's Virtual Planning Committee on Friday, 30th of September 2022. Due to unfortunate circumstances, your normal chair, Councillor Eileen Wragg, is unable to make today's meeting. So today I am your chair, Councillor Sarah Chamberlain. Based on the decision of the Council to continue virtual meetings until the 31st of October 2022, I would like to remind both members and public attending or watching that this Council has delegated much of its decision-taking power to our senior officers. We will continue to adhere as closely as possible to the procedural rules detailed in our Constitution. In the event of a break in the internet connection, please bear with us as we try to reconnect. After 15 minutes, if we are not able to reconnect, we will consider the meeting adjourned and reconvene at a later date. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. Any members of the public can view the agenda by visiting our website at www.eastdevon.gov.uk. Before I start the meeting, I need to appoint a new chair for agenda item 9, as I have to declare a pecuniary interest and will be leaving the meeting. I would like to appoint Ollie as the chair for agenda item 9, please, Councillor Ollie Davey. And I would also like to appoint a vice chair for agenda item 9, Councillor Philip Skinner. After agenda item 9, I will come back as chair and Councillor Ollie Davey will be the vice chair. If members are in agreement, please can you use your green voting button and red crosses if you're against, or raise your electronic hand if abstaining.
Okay, we have 6 votes in support, no one against.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Wendy. We will now start by doing a roll call of committee members present. Over to Wendy, please.
Thank you. Councillor Chamberlain.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman. Councillor Davey.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor De Sarum.
Present. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Councillor Key.
Present, Wendy.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence.
Present. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt.
Present, Wendy.
Thank you. Councillor Rylance.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
Present.
Thank you. I can confirm we're quorate for this morning's meeting, Chair.
Thank you, Wendy. Agenda item 1, the running order for today's meeting and the speakers list can be viewed under agenda item 1 on pages 4 to 5. Agenda item 2, minutes of the consultative meetings held on the 26th of July and the 2nd of August 2022 are pages 6 to 9. If anyone has a comment on these minutes, please raise your electronic hand. If there are no raised hands, I will take this as an indication that you are happy that the minutes are noted.
Excuse me, Chair, sorry. It looks like the dates on your script are incorrect. It is the 30th of August's meeting minutes that members are being asked to vote on at this moment.
Thank you very much, Shelley. So the 30th, everybody. I don't have any raised hands. So that's lovely. So now we go on to agenda item 3. Apologies. Over to Wendy, please.
Thank you. Apologies I've received are from Councillor Bloxham, Councillor Pook, Councillor Woodward, Councillor Gazzard, Councillor Howe and Councillor Wragg.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Wendy. Agenda item 4 is declarations of interest. We will go over to Wendy, please.
Thank you. Chair, I'll start with you, Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I need to declare a DPI pecuniary interest in agenda item 9, and I will be leaving the meeting for this item.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Sorry, I'm the ward member for 2 of the items on the agenda today.
Thank you. Councillor Davey.
Sorry, Wendy. Councillor Brown, could you please indicate what kind of interest that is and what the items are?
Well, I don't think it's any interest. Is it? The items are 22/0270 and 22/1547.
So it's not an interest then that you're declaring?
No, I'm just being
Okay.
upfront with the fact I'm a ward member.
Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
None.
Thank you. Councillor De Sarum.
None, Wendy.
Councillor Key.
Yes, Wendy. On item 22/1547, I am the ward member, but I had as you will know, I had the applicant phone me with regard to how they could contact the meeting, and I believe you had a contact with him, have you? Or so that's the only thing. He just asked me how he could actually come into the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I did speak to the applicant. Thank you. Councillor Lawrence.
None, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt.
Yes, I'd just like to say that on item 13, that's 220158, I have attended the site where I met the applicant. Apart from that, I have no interest to declare.
So would you class that as a lobbying interest?
It's not really lobbying, I don't think.
Would you say that you are predetermined or predisposed?
I'm not predetermined,
Okay.
Shirley.
It's just for information, attendance
It's for information only. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rylance.
Yeah, so item 9, I have a directly relates NRI because I am a personal friend of the applicant. So I shall be leaving the meeting for the debate and the vote, but I would like to speak as a member of the public and provide some factual background information, please, before the debate happens. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Skinner.
I've got application number 220153, which is not my ward actually, but it is right next to my ward. Only the landowners there, I rent some land from them, so I don't know what that comes under, but where's Shirley? I'm looking.
I'm here. Sorry, you said you rent land from...
Some land off the owner of the yard.
Off the owner.
Of them, yeah. Although this is not in my ward, actually, it's in the next ward.
So would you consider that was, he is a close associate?
No.
No. So looking through and thinking about the interests, does it directly relate to a close associate? No, it's not affects the finances or well-being of a close associate.
No.
Then you may think you wish to declare an NRI and affects NRI, but where you can remain, discuss and vote, or you have no interest. It is for you to decide if...
Well, if I can remain and vote, I ought to declare an NRI, whatever that
affects.
Is it? Yeah, non-registrable interest, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And affects non-registrable interest.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Wendy. I just want to check, are there any other councillors in this meeting who want to declare an interest that may affect their ability to remain in the meeting for any of the items listed on the agenda? To check. I have a hand up from Councillor Faithful.
Thank you, Chair. I was with Councillor Pratt at the visit to the yard, Escott. So that's basically all I want to say to get more information.
Do you think that that has prejudiced you in any of your representations?
No.
No, thank you. So it's just for information.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's lovely, thank you. Moving on, agenda item 5, matters of urgency. There are no matters of urgency to discuss. Agenda item 6 are confidential exempt items. There are no confidential exempt items to discuss. Agenda item 7 is the annual opinion. Mr. Freeman, Service Lead, Planning, Strategy and Development Management, will now present his report. Over to you, Ed.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. So this report is the annual report on our planning appeals performance for the period April 2021 to the end of March 22. And you'll see from the report, we start off with a bit of background in terms of the national context in terms of appeals performance, and you'll see that the national picture is very much that the number of appeals rose slightly over the last year from the previous year, but still down significantly from 2019-20. And the proportion allowed was around 29.1% nationally. Unfortunately, from a local perspective, our performance is somewhat behind that. You'll see over the last year, our performance has fallen back quite significantly, so that 41.9% of appeals in the district that are subject to this report were allowed. So that's 18 out of the 43 decided appeals. Again, that's a drop in terms of the number decided, a modest drop of 1 from the previous year, but still down fairly significantly on sort of 19-20 numbers, pre-COVID figures. So the report goes on to try and do some analysis to understand why that's the case and why performance has dropped to the extent it has. And you'll see we look at the appeal procedures, and you'll see that a number of those allowed, well, the highest proportion of those allowed were under the written representations procedure. But that's probably not surprising, as the majority of appeals were held through that route, 25 of the total. And then we tried to look at the different types of applications, and you'll see there's quite a fair split across there in terms of the numbers and proportions allowed. I'm pleased to say on the positive note that our performance in terms of householder appeals, which is what had been pulling down our performance in terms of appeals in recent years, has improved markedly over the last year, such that 69.2% were dismissed, compared to only 50% in the previous year, and we were down at 36% before that. So members may be aware that relates to a marked change in the inspectorate's approach to householder developments, where they seem to be taking more of a sort of laissez-faire approach and allowing more developments through that route. We seem to have successfully aligned ourselves a bit more with that approach, with 69.2 just short of the 70% target that we set ourselves as a council. I think where the issue arises in terms of our performance is more in terms of the minor developments, and you'll see that there's a number of minor developments that have been allowed that are listed in the report. I don't think there's any real trends though between them, no particular types of development or forms of development where we're not successfully defending our position. So it's very difficult to draw through any real trends that we can learn from. I think really we just need to monitor the situation and keep gathering more information and understanding. I would say, however, though, so far this year our performance has been markedly better, and you'll see that we're well in excess of the 70% target, currently running at 86.6% from 15 decisions so far this year. The other thing to note, I suppose, is the element in terms of cost applications. I think there's a couple of cost applications made against us that have been dismissed, but one that was partially allowed in relation to a listed building enforcement notice, so some minor cost implications for the council in regards to that, where the inspector considered that we'd acted unreasonably in terms of requiring replacement windows that met a heritage specification rather than simple replacement of what was previously there. Hopefully that helps members' understanding of the position in terms of performance. They're happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I have a hand raised by Councillor Lawrence, please.
Thank you, Chair. Could I, through you, ask Ed, Is there anything that we can take from this that would make the situation better going forward, or do we just carry on with the way we are, because we don't seem to be doing too badly? But it'd be interesting to know if he has any advice for us as a committee on the decisions that we make. Thank you.
I don't think there's any specific actions. I think that's illustrated by the fact that performance has been so much better already this monitoring period without us making any changes. But I suppose my advice would always be to follow the legislation, follow the development plan, and only depart from the development plan when there are other material considerations to justify doing so. Which is just general good advice in terms of making decisions on planning applications.
Right. Thanks,
hopefully something you've heard before.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Moving on, we're now on to agenda item 8, which is the planning appeals statistics. This can be found on pages 17 to 27. We'll go back over to Ed Freeman to update, please.
Excuse me, Chair, sorry, but there was a recommendation that members note the report. I don't know whether you wish to just ask if members are happy to accept that recommendation, and if they're against, raise a hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Following on from Mrs. Shaw's recommendation there, if members are happy, green ticks to note the recommendation or green crosses to not.
Thanks, Chair, that's carried.
Lovely, thank you very much. Agenda item 8, planning appeal statistics, pages 17 to 27. Back over to Ed Freeman, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is members' monthly update on appeals. So you see the report starts off with a list of the appeals lodged within the period. I won't go through those. Obviously, they're all available on the system if members wish to view the details of those appeals. In terms of those decided, as you see, there's only been 2 decisions in this period, one of which was allowed, which is the appeal in relation to 3 Spring Meadow, Jackson Meadow, Limpston for proposed single-storey rear extension. So this was a case where the committee overturned officer's recommendation to approve and refused the application on amenity grounds. Those have been overturned by the Inspector on Appeal, who felt that the impact in terms of loss of light and access to sunlight were unfounded, and didn't feel that permission should be withheld on those grounds. So permission has now been granted for that development, contrary to the committee's decision. The other appeal relates to 11 Douglas Avenue in Exmouth for construction of 3 residential dwellings, which was dismissed in accordance with the decision of the council. The remaining list is a list of appeals in progress, and again, I don't propose to go through those, but again, the details are on the system if members wish to view those ongoing appeals. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to agenda item 9, I would just like to now bring in Councillor Ollie Davey for your chair for the next item, and Councillor Philip Skinner to be vice chair for the next agenda item, item number 9, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And are you going to be...
I need to be removed, yeah. Wendy will remove me.
We'll wait for you to disappear as if by magic.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is agenda item 9, application 212604 OUT outline application for 6 Railway Terrace Broadcliffe Station, Exeter. That's on pages 28 to 65. And we have the agent, Lucy Hodgson, here, but I think we need to hear Ed's report first. So Ed, if you'd like to present your report.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully members can now see my screen with a beautiful image of East Devon countryside before you. Thank you. And hopefully this is going to move. So this application relates to 6 Railway Terrace, Broadcliff Station, and is seeking outline permission with all matters reserved for the erection of 7 dwellings. So you can see on the screen, the site is this property here, which is on the end of this terrace of properties, and the site relates to approximately this area here to the east of the main house. And you can see in the context, this is the sort of hamlet of Broadcliff Station here, with the railway line running through here, Lodge Trading Estates, the north side of the railway line, and you can just about see Cranbrook coming in on the eastern side with Cranbrook Country Park and the railway station and car park here for context. If I move to the next slide, you can see the current policy context for this site within the local plan is that Broadcliff Station sits within the countryside. However, that is currently a position that's about to change through the Cranbrook plan, which members will be aware has been going through examination process for the last couple of years. We have now received a letter from the inspector concluding that the plan has been found sound. A report is going to Strategic Planning Committee next week, seeking their recommendation to council that the plan now be adopted, and that is intended to be taken to a council meeting later in October. So we can now give significant weight to the Cranbrook plan, which does a number of things in relation to this site. Firstly, it proposes development at Cranbrook, which comes up to the boundaries of this site. So the application site is in here, and you can see this shaded brown area is the Blue Haze expansion area for Cranbrook. So this is an allocation within the Cranbrook plan. It also reflects to some extent an allocation in the adopted local plan as well, albeit the boundaries of the allocation have slightly changed now. And this is also in itself subject to a planning application which is currently being considered through the system. And so you can see that this site will in the future, with a good element of certainty, adjoin a significant residential-led development coming into this area. The Cranbrook plan also draws a built-up area boundary around Broadcliff Station itself, which in itself would take this site out of the countryside. So these changes in policy can be given significant weight and need to inform members' decision on this matter today. So turning to the details of the proposal itself, you can see the red line of the application site is drawn around this area of garden and paddock area to the east of the main house, which is outlined in blue on the plan. And the site is served by this private driveway through here that comes down and out onto the station road at this point here. As I say, the application is made in outline with all matters reserved. However, it's quite clear the access arrangements would be reliant on access through this route here. And an indicative layout has been submitted as part of the application, which indicates that the proposal is, among other things, to demolish a single-storey side extension to the existing property, to build on an additional property on the end of the existing terrace, and 3 pairs of semi-detached properties in the paddock/garden area, essentially in line with the existing terrace, with access to the front and parking areas to the front, with gardens to the rear. Another important point, as I mentioned, about the expansion of Cranbrook coming up to the boundaries of this site, part of the proposal is a link across from this site into that area to provide good permeability between this site and the forthcoming Cranbrook expansion area. So this plan sort of further illustrates the layout, but particularly picks up on drainage issues. The proposal indicates that a sustainable drainage system would be proposed, whereby basically a tank would be built underneath this frontage area to collect surface water runoff and control its release into the system during any storm events, such that runoff does not exceed greenfield levels. If I just took you through the photographs for the sites, this is the existing site, and you can see the paddock area and some post and rail fencing that divides the paddock area. So there's a stable block there in the corner of the site, and this photograph looks back towards the existing house and the single-storey extension that I mentioned earlier, which is proposed to be demolished or indicated to be demolished as part of the proposals. Apologies, that photograph's rather dark, but that's looking back along the paddock to the stables you saw earlier. And these are further photographs of the paddock area. If I just move forward to the access, because that is an area that has caused some concern among the local community. So this is the access area into the site, and this is Station Road coming through the existing hamlet with the existing properties you can see. And this is looking the other way. I know there's been some concern about visibility from this junction. However, the Highway Authority considered that given the relatively low scale of additional vehicle movements over this access, that it is acceptable. This is looking down the access drive itself, which you can see is relatively narrow, perhaps fractionally wider than a single vehicle, but not wide enough along much of its length to allow 2 vehicles to pass. However, there are a series of passing bays and reasonable visibility between them to ensure that oncoming traffic can be seen and avoided through the use of the passing bays. So on that basis, the Highway Authority have not raised a formal objection to this application. And sorry, there's photographs looking across the fields to the site. A couple of other key points to just pick up on in terms of the application. As I say, it gains policy support through the Cranbrook Plan primarily, and the changes in the policy approach that arise through that document, which is going through the process of adoption at the moment, but can carry significant weight in the meantime. A number of other issues arise in terms of, as members will be aware, this site is within the habitat protection zone of the East Devon Pebblebed Heaths and the ex-estuary. And a number of other obligations arise from this development in terms of its impact on infrastructure such as school provision, etc. The proposal is that a number of contributions are made to address those issues. These are in accordance with work done for the Cranbrook Plan to calculate the impact of developments, which is slightly separate from the approach we would usually take. So, for example, SIL, Community Infrastructure Levy, does not apply at Cranbrook. Members will recall that the new SIL charging schedule took Cranbrook out of that regime. And so financial contributions are directly proposed through Section 106 towards education provision. In terms of affordable housing, the site sits below the threshold of 20 dwellings or more where provision is expected on the site. So financial contribution is again required towards affordable housing at a ratio of 15% affordable housing in accordance with the Cranbrook Plan. So financial contribution has been calculated towards that as well. So subject to those issues being dealt with through Section 106 agreements, there's a number of other minor issues as well. Members will note the comments of the Council's Recycling and Waste Contract Manager regarding the issues of collecting waste and recycling from these properties. It is, however, considered that there is space for the requested bin store at the end of the private drive to enable recycling and waste collections to take place. Again, that's a matter of detail for reserved matters to come forward in the future, should consent be granted today. As I say, subject to those issues and a number of other issues that have been raised, which again, I think are to be addressed through reserved matters in terms of the detailed design of the proposals, an appropriate assessment is included in relation to the habitats mitigation issues, and you'll see contributions have been calculated on that basis to address those concerns. So the recommendation is to approve the application subject to Section 106 legal agreement to address the issues identified in terms of contributions towards education, affordable housing. You'll see there's a number of other issues there as well. For example, the Cranbrook